A catastrophe can kill millions, but it almost never kills opportunity. That is one of the darkest jokes in economic history, because every major collapse has always carried a silent companion, a transfer of wealth. The Black Death is the clearest example of this mechanism. When it entered Europe in 1347, it did not merely attack people, it attacked the system itself. Towns vanished from maps, families were erased entirely, records went silent. Church bells did not ring because there was no one left to ring them. Nearly half of Europe's population disappeared within a few years. Yet beneath this absolute devastation, another process began quietly, almost invisibly. Wealth started to move. This is not a story about morality. It is a story about mechanisms. History shows the same truth again and again. When systems collapse, wealth does not disappear. It changes hands. The plague killed peasants, craftsmen, and merchants, but the true destruction came from killing heirs. Bloodlines ended, generations stopped. Land was left without owners. Rents collapsed. Banks could not collect debts. Trade networks broke apart. The core pillar of feudalism abundant. Cheap labor vanished almost overnight. People became scarce. Land became plentiful. And this imbalance created a shift in power unseen for centuries. Survivors suddenly had leverage. Land was everywhere, but workers were not. The system began to collapse under its own weight. By the late 14th century, Florence was still being struck by recurring waves of plague, but something else was happening beneath the surface. The old financial elites were dissolving. Banking giants like the Bardi and Peruzzi families, once the backbone of European finance, were destroyed by unpaid royal debts and losses amplified by the pandemic. Branches closed, partners died, international networks disintegrated, trust evaporated, and in 1397, into this vacuum stepped Giovanni di Medici. He was not a noble, he was not a titan of the old order, but his timing was perfect. The Medici Bank expanded rapidly across a financial wasteland, populated by only a few surviving rivals. It managed papal finances, collected taxes, extended credit to states, and quietly accumulated political power. Without the plague, the Medici would likely have remained a wealthy but ordinary Florentine family. Instead, they became the dynasty that financed the Renaissance. Art was not a miracle, it was a consequence. The money behind Michelangelo, Leonardo, and Botticelli flowed from a vacuum created by death. In Milan, the process was even harsher. The Visconti family systematically exploited collapses in inheritance. When noble houses died without heirs, their lands reverted upward or were seized by force. Bernabo Visconti absorbed estates left vacant by plague mortality, expanding Milan's reach. His son, Gian Galeazzo, combined demographic chaos with strategic marriages, coercion, and political pressure, becoming the first Duke of Milan in 1395. Power that would normally require centuries of warfare was achieved in a single generation, not because of conspiracy, but because after the plague, competitors were already gone. It was not ideology, it was mathematics. In England, the transformation was quieter but far more enduring. A new class emerged, families that were not noble but rapidly became powerful. The Paston family acquired land from estates, left heirless, often at extraordinary discounts. Those properties provided income, education, access to courts, and royal patronage. Within 1 or 2 generations, they became political actors. The Nevilles, the Stanleys, and other families who would later shape the Wars of the Roses built their fortunes during the post-plague collapse of the northern aristocracy. Old lines fell, new ones rose to replace them. To the north, along the Baltic ports, another game was unfolding. The Hanseatic League was not a nation, it was a network. During the plague, scarcity ruled, harvests failed, production collapsed, prices exploded. Hanseatic merchants controlled salt, timber, food supplies, and maritime transport. They purchased cheaply in less affected eastern regions and sold at extreme markups in plague-devastated western cities. While much of Europe could not produce, they supplied, and they grew rich. Crisis was not a threat to them, it was fuel. Some winners never died at all because they were not individuals, they were institutions. Monasteries and church orders became among the largest landowners in Europe after the plague. Fear drove survivors to purchase salvation. Estates, vineyards, mills, and livestock were donated in exchange for spiritual security. Families vanished. Inheritance ended. Land flowed quietly into ecclesiastical hands. The church did not shout, but it expanded. While secular estates fragmented, ecclesiastical ones consolidated. When people panicked, they invested in what felt eternal. And then there were ordinary people. For a brief moment in history, labor held power. Labor shortages drove wages upward across Europe. Serfs negotiated better terms or abandoned feudal obligations altogether. Guilds expanded. Apprentices advanced to master status faster than tradition allowed. England attempted to suppress wages through the Statute of Laborers in 1351, but economics does not obey law. This was the greatest labor advantage medieval Europe ever experienced. It did not last long, but it was real. The deeper lesson is simple. The Black Death did not destroy wealth, it reshuffled it. The same mechanism appeared in 1929, again in 2008, and once more during COVID. Crises do not equalize societies. They accelerate them. They reward preparation and punish dependence. This video was not made to scare you. It was made to wake you up, because systems collapse. Money erodes, names disappear, and history always asks the same question. When collapse comes, are you holding a promise or something real? Shadow history. History does not hide the answers. Most people simply never look.